So that's all capital projects. I mean, so when we do full road reconstructions, we use that money also for this type of projects.
Continue.
We're done.
I was just going to follow up.
At the present day, well,
Yeah, the when we do a full road reconstruction, historically we haven't broken the underground stuff out to the water and sewer fund. We've just absorbed it into the general capital projects fund through that non-home rule sales tax. When it's just a straight up water main project like the ones they're doing over on Ash, Edgewood, and Hemlock right now, those are coming out of the water fund. But Elmhurst, all the underground work on that just came out of that 1%. So we are, in some regards, already kind of taking money out of there to help not overly burden the water and sewer fund. We didn't.
in the presentation.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, at this point, I know Kristen has a couple slides at the end. Like I said, I don't know if we're going to get an answer on the water rate issue tonight. If you want us to look at it a little bit more, we can come back in early December before the Water Commission does their thing. Just to get a consensus for where you want us to go with that. Because right now, the way the ordinance is written, come January when that 69 cents rolls through, we're not going to do anything about it. We're just going to wait until May and then do the increase that's already in the ordinance. So it would take, you would have to pass an ordinance amending the water rate ordinance for us to do anything, to take any action on increasing our rates for the Water Commission's rate increase in January.
Would you state the ordinance that we would have to pass now?
Well, you'd have to amend the water rates section.
Mm-hmm.
My memory's failing if it's 3803 or 8308. That's 3s and 8s in there. 8308? Okay. Yeah, 8308 is the section of the code that the water rates are in. And so we'd have to go through and amend section 8.308 of the code to account for the DuPage Water Commission increase. If you don't, then just come May 1st, the $1.07 that the mayor's referenced would go into effect at that time.
Alderman Winger.
I'm going to make that motion to account for the water rate increase in that section as you stated in January of 2012.
Thank you. I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I don't know what, I'm a little confused on
We're
the
not,
motion.
we're not increasing anything more than that 69 cents.
Currently, right, to pass on the DuPage.
I got to,
Okay.
Yeah.
okay, they made the motion to go along with the 69 cents, and I agree. What happens to the $1.07? If they don't make another motion, that's going to also come up in May, right? That's-
Correct. Absent another motion to address that, then yes, that would go into effect as well. But I guess the good news, that's May, so we have 5 months for that.
Right,
But
right.
But absent some other action, yes.
Right. Just the 69 cents in January.
So that's a motion on the floor, just the Page County increase.
Correct.
Well, the motion passed. Did you want to sum up the presentation? You said there were a couple more pages or something.
Just a summary of the recommendations we talked about. So continue with the rate increases planned in May of 2012, which is the start of fiscal year 2013. Freeze the rates in fiscal year 2014, with the exception of the Water Commission increases, which would be passed through. And then annually reevaluate the proposed rates for fiscal years 2015 through 2017. You'll want to maybe even more than annually as you get bids in for the wastewater plant and the funding picture becomes a little clearer. And as we just talked about, pass through those rate increases from the Water Commission as soon as they are implemented to avoid any additional drawdown on your reserves beyond what we were projecting already. And split the water usage rate into a city component and well, not a Chicago component, a Water Commission component. Again, just to help illustrate to your customers exactly where those increases are coming from.
Any comments? Thank you for the presentation. I think we're finished. We have one question from
Just,
Alderman Coles.
Just a minute. We're gonna have trouble getting, what? Okay. We're gonna have trouble getting a low percentage because we don't owe anybody any money. Is that what you said, right?
No, I said,
We don't have any projects being we don't have any money that we borrowed from any place. We're a clean slate. We're a town with money ahead, and we don't have any money out on loans on major projects, and we may have trouble getting the lower rates because financially they don't know how we're going to pay.
no, no,
But I heard from you.
I never made a statement that we are going to have a problem getting a lower rate. I said that we have to go out, Springfield recommend bonding the first issue of the treatment plant
I
to
know
get
that. I
a,
know
get a
all about
bond
bonding.
rating for us.
I know all
We
about
don't have
bonding the
one.
first phase and going to the second phase and the 2 steps. I know all about that. But I'm just saying that the reason that Wooddale might have a problem is because we haven't borrowed any money to do any major projects in years that I know of. And that's a bad sign, because people that have credit use the credit. We don't use it. We've been fortunate to been able to pay for the stuff as we need it. We're not going out borrowing $2 million for a road repair. We always get that money ahead of time and stuff. We don't have to do that. But I think we might have a little problem when you come to, because banks look at your credit rating. We don't have a credit rating. You just said that. We don't have a AA credit rating. We don't have anything like that I know of, unless Mr. Wilson knows.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and that's exactly why we're gonna get together with our financial advisor and at this point presumably S&P to obtain that rating. And while you are correct to some regards, the fact that we don't have any bonds, we don't have a payment history, we don't have a track record, the inverse of that is that that's a great story for us to tell, that we've been that fiscally sound, we have that great a
agree with you.
management to do it. And they look at 4 components, and I do apologize, I'm spacing on one of them right now. One is your prior history, and I think we paid the last ones off in 03 or 05, I want to say. They look at, there's a number of ratios, liquidity ratios, debt ratios, things of that nature. And on all of them that I've been given, that I've ran myself, we're pretty sterling on, I think, all but 2. They look at the last number of years' budgets and audits to see if, and this goes along with the last one, which is management, which looks at the policies that we have in place to follow. Do we have a debt policy? Do we have a revenue policy? Do we have a fund balance policy? We did that, I think, 3 years ago. We actually got all those policies in place in anticipation for this day to come. And so that management component with the policies in place juxtaposed with the budgets and audits from the last few years, where we can say, hey, we've made money the last 5 years. We've passed balanced budgets even through these tough times. That's all going to go into the story that we're going to tell the S&P to get them to not count the fact that we haven't had to have any debt in a number of years to our side. So, like I said, you are correct that that's one of the components, that mark us down a little bit. But the other three, we feel strongly that we're going to pretty much outperform anybody else on the market and be able to overcome that slight hurdle.
Okay, but I'm just saying, the people that are in debt always can get something a lot easier than the people that ain't in debt. The guy that pays cash for everything, and he has no established credit, he has a heck of a job. When he went to buy a house, he couldn't buy the house because he paid cash for everything. They wouldn't give him a mortgage. All right, I know that for a friend of mine. And this is what, we're in a predicament right now. I'm afraid we're gonna be in a little predicament. It may not, but it might happen. That's all I gotta say.
I'd like to thank you for the presentation, and unless there's any other comments, we'll go into items to be considered at future meetings. Number one, the fiscal year 2011 audit report, that'll be in November. The revenue handbook in November. The fiscal year 2011 MFT closeout in November. And I guess, does anybody have anything to add? Mr. Wilson?
The handbook actually been moved to December.
To December.
And then the $7 conversation, when would you like to have that?
I would suggest in January, but Mr. Mayor, do you have a comment?
Why not when we open the bids? Aren't the bids in February? When we actually get the hard numbers, because the thing is in May, right? Wouldn't that make the most sense? Then we know exactly what the number is. Is that
As long as we do it before
May?
May 1st, because
Right.
as we found out with the 13 cents, we can't retroactively affect rates.
Right.
So as long as we do it before the new rate goes into effect,
the-
that'd be fine.
I think I heard tonight, the end of February, we open the bids, right?
Whenever staff has that available.
Yeah, and that might actually fold nicely into one of the budget meetings too, so we could maybe do it at that time as well, just kind of.
Okay.
Okay, next item is adjournment. I make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Better not be. Motion passes as we're adjourned.